Many people spend their lives trying to force relationships, careers, friendships, and opportunities that were never meant to develop naturally. They believe that if they try harder, speak louder, chase longer, or sacrifice more, everything will eventually fall into place. But human nature rarely responds well to pressure. The more desperately you hold on to something, the more difficult it often becomes to keep. What is meant for you grows through patience, not desperation. This idea can feel difficult to accept because human nature craves immediate results. We want answers quickly, success without delay, and certainty in situations filled with uncertainty. When something matters deeply to us, whether it is a relationship, a career opportunity, or a personal dream, the temptation is to push harder, chase faster, and force progress before the right conditions exist. Yet many of life's greatest achievements are built through steady growth rather than frantic effort. A tree does not become strong overnight. It develops deep roots long before anyone admires its height. In the same way, meaningful success often grows beneath the surface long before visible results appear. Patience allows those roots to become strong enough to support lasting achievement. Desperation, on the other hand, creates emotional pressure that clouds judgment. It encourages you to ignore warning signs, settle for less than you deserve, and make decisions based on fear instead of wisdom. A person desperate for approval may abandon their values just to be accepted. Someone desperate for success may sacrifice integrity for temporary rewards. Someone desperate to keep a relationship alive may ignore repeated disrespect simply because they fear being alone. In each situation, desperation shifts your focus away from what is healthy and toward what feels urgent. Human psychology naturally responds to confidence and emotional stability. People are more likely to trust someone who remains calm during uncertainty than someone who constantly seeks reassurance. Patience does not mean doing nothing or waiting passively for life to improve. It means continuing to prepare while refusing to let anxiety dictate your actions. You continue learning even when recognition is delayed. You continue improving even when progress seems slow. You continue acting with integrity even when shortcuts appear tempting. This mindset builds resilience because your confidence comes from the quality of your effort rather than the speed of the outcome. Every day spent developing your character, expanding your knowledge, and strengthening your discipline becomes an investment in opportunities that have not yet arrived. Over time, you begin to understand that timing matters just as much as effort. Some opportunities require growth before they can be handled wisely. Some relationships require maturity before they can thrive. Some goals demand preparation before they become sustainable. By choosing patience instead of desperation, you protect your peace, preserve your standards, and allow your life to unfold through thoughtful action rather than emotional urgency, trusting that lasting success is built through consistent preparation instead of restless pursuit. Desperation pushes people away while calm confidence naturally attracts because the energy you bring into every interaction often speaks louder than the words you choose. Human nature is remarkably sensitive to emotional signals. Long before people evaluate your abilities or understand your intentions, they notice your emotional state. Someone who constantly seeks approval, demands reassurance, or fears rejection often communicates insecurity without realizing it. They over-explain their decisions, chase people who create distance, apologize for existing, and become overly available in the hope that constant effort will earn appreciation. Ironically, these behaviors often produce the opposite result. The more you try to force someone to value you, the more your actions suggest that you do not fully value yourself. Calm confidence follows a completely different path. It is not loud, arrogant, or emotionally distant. It is steady. It understands that self-worth is not determined by another person's opinion or immediate response. A calm and confident individual expresses interest without becoming dependent on the outcome. They communicate honestly, respect other people's choices, and refuse to abandon their dignity in exchange for temporary attention. This mindset creates emotional stability because your actions are guided by your values rather than by fear. Human psychology is naturally drawn to people who appear secure within themselves. Confidence creates trust because it signals emotional independence. Others feel comfortable around someone who does not constantly demand validation or react dramatically to uncertainty. This does not mean pretending to be emotionless or acting as though you never care. It means caring deeply without allowing fear to control your behavior. In relationships, calm confidence allows genuine connection to develop naturally because both people are free to choose each other rather than feeling pressured. In professional life, it improves decision making because you focus on preparation instead of panic. You stop chasing every opportunity out of fear that another may never come, and instead invest your energy in becoming someone who can recognize and seize the right opportunities when they appear. Calm confidence also protects your emotional well being. Rejection becomes a lesson instead of a personal defeat, delays become opportunities to prepare, and uncertainty becomes a reason to remain patient rather than anxious. Over time, people begin responding differently to your presence because they sense consistency, composure, and quiet self-respect. You no longer need to convince others of your value because your behavior already reflects it. By replacing desperation with calm confidence, you create stronger relationships, make wiser decisions, and develop an inner stability that attracts genuine respect, meaningful opportunities, and lasting connections without sacrificing your integrity or your peace. Learning the power of timing instead of constant chasing is one of the greatest advantages a person can develop. Many people believe that success belongs only to those who never stop pushing, never stop chasing, and never stop demanding immediate results. While persistence is valuable, persistence without awareness can become wasted effort. Human nature often mistakes constant movement for meaningful progress. We assume that doing more automatically produces better outcomes, but life repeatedly demonstrates that timing matters just as much as determination. A seed planted during the wrong season will struggle no matter how healthy it is. In the same way, an opportunity pursued before you are prepared or before circumstances are ready often leads to frustration rather than success. Wise people understand that there is a difference between taking action and forcing results. They know when to move forward with confidence and when to pause, observe, and continue preparing. Timing requires patience because not every opportunity needs an immediate response. Sometimes waiting allows you to gather better information, strengthen your abilities, or recognize risks that were invisible in the beginning. Constant chasing, however, creates emotional pressure. It convinces you that every missed opportunity is the last opportunity, causing you to make decisions from fear instead of clarity. This mindset often leads people to accept unhealthy relationships, poor career choices, or unnecessary commitments simply because they are afraid that nothing better will appear. Human psychology naturally rewards those who remain composed under uncertainty. A person who acts with patience communicates confidence because they trust their ability to create future opportunities rather than desperately clinging to the present one. Learning the power of timing also improves your judgment. Instead of reacting emotionally to every situation, you begin asking whether the moment is truly right. You understand that preparation increases the value of opportunity. A skilled person who waits for the right moment often accomplishes more than an unprepared person who acts immediately. This principle applies to every area of life. In relationships, trust develops through consistency rather than urgency. In business, careful planning often produces stronger results than impulsive action. In personal growth, steady improvement creates lasting transformation, while rushed progress frequently collapses under pressure. By embracing the power of timing, you replace anxiety with patience and desperation with purpose. You stop measuring success by how quickly things happen and begin measuring it by the quality of your preparation and the wisdom of your decisions. Over time, this approach creates a life built on thoughtful action instead of constant chasing, allowing opportunities to meet a person who is fully prepared to make the most of them when the moment is truly right. One of the most difficult lessons in life is learning to stop resisting what refuses to stay. Human nature encourages us to hold tightly to people, opportunities, and expectations, because letting go often feels like admitting defeat. We convince ourselves that if we try harder, explain ourselves better, or sacrifice a little more, we can force everything to return to the way we imagined it should be. Yet not everything that leaves is meant to remain, and not everything that disappears is a loss. Sometimes life removes people, situations, or paths because they no longer align with the person you are becoming. The pain comes not only from what is leaving, but from your resistance to accepting that reality. The more tightly you cling to something that is already moving away, the more emotional energy you lose. You begin living in a constant state of anxiety, replaying conversations, questioning your worth, and searching for ways to control what can no longer be controlled. This cycle slowly drains your confidence because your peace becomes dependent on something outside your influence. Wisdom begins when you recognize the difference between commitment and attachment. Commitment means giving your best effort while respecting reality. Attachment means refusing to accept reality because it does not match your expectations. Human psychology often struggles with uncertainty, so the mind creates endless stories about what could have been or what might still happen. These thoughts keep you emotionally connected to situations that have already reached their natural conclusion. Instead of moving forward, you remain trapped in a version of the past that no longer exists. Letting go does not mean you never cared. It means you care enough about your own future to stop sacrificing your present for something that cannot be forced. This mindset also changes your relationships. You stop chasing people who repeatedly choose distance over connection and begin appreciating those who willingly invest their time, honesty, and respect. In your career, you become more open to new opportunities instead of clinging to roles that no longer allow you to grow. Personally, you develop emotional resilience because your happiness is no longer built upon keeping everything exactly as it was. Every ending creates space for a new beginning, but that space cannot appear until you release what no longer belongs in your life. By choosing to stop resisting what refuses to stay, you replace fear with acceptance, emotional exhaustion with clarity, and desperation with quiet confidence. You discover that peace is not found by forcing every chapter to continue, but by having the courage to close the chapters that have already ended and trusting yourself enough to begin writing the next one with wisdom, patience, and purpose. One of the greatest forms of strength is learning to control your emotions instead of trying to control every outcome. Many people spend enormous amounts of energy attempting to manage circumstances that are beyond their influence. They want every conversation to end perfectly, every relationship to unfold according to their expectations, and every opportunity to produce immediate success. When reality refuses to cooperate, frustration begins to replace clarity. Human nature dislikes uncertainty because uncertainty creates discomfort. The mind searches for guarantees, predictable results, and complete control over the future. Yet life has never promised any of these things. No matter how carefully you plan, there will always be unexpected setbacks, changing circumstances, and decisions made by other people that you cannot influence. The more tightly you cling to controlling every outcome, the more anxious and emotionally exhausted you become. Emotional discipline begins with recognizing the difference between what belongs within your control and what does not. Your attitude, your preparation, your actions, and your character are yours to guide. Other people's opinions, choices, and reactions are not. When you confuse these two areas, you begin carrying responsibilities that were never yours to bear. Instead of focusing on your own growth, you become consumed by trying to change people, predict the future, or prevent every possible disappointment. Human psychology responds differently when attention shifts inward. Rather than reacting impulsively to every challenge, you begin responding with patience and intention. A calm mind makes wiser decisions because it is not overwhelmed by fear or urgency. You stop speaking out of anger simply to win an argument, stop making desperate choices simply to avoid temporary discomfort, and stop sacrificing your values simply because the outcome feels uncertain. This approach strengthens every area of your life. Relationships become healthier because you respect the freedom of others instead of trying to control their behavior. Professional decisions improve because they are based on careful judgment rather than emotional pressure. Personal confidence grows because your peace no longer depends on everything happening exactly as you planned. You begin measuring success by the quality of your effort rather than by immediate results. Over time, emotional control becomes one of your greatest advantages because it allows you to remain steady while others become overwhelmed by circumstances they cannot change. Instead of resisting uncertainty, you learn to work within it. Instead of fearing the unknown, you prepare for it with discipline and resilience. By mastering your emotions, rather than chasing complete control over every outcome, you create a life guided by wisdom, patience, and inner stability, allowing your decisions to reflect clarity instead of fear and your confidence to remain strong, regardless of how unpredictable life may become. The strongest opportunities come when you act with purpose, not pressure. Many people spend their lives believing that every opportunity must be chased immediately or it will disappear forever. This belief creates a constant sense of urgency that clouds judgment and weakens decision making. Human nature often mistakes speed for progress, encouraging people to rush into relationships, careers, investments, and commitments before they are truly prepared. While taking action is essential for growth, action driven by pressure is very different from action guided by purpose. Pressure comes from fear. It whispers that this is your only chance, that you must decide immediately, and that waiting will leave you behind. Purpose speaks with patience. It encourages preparation, careful observation, and thoughtful decisions that align with your values rather than your emotions. A person acting from pressure often ignores warning signs because they are too focused on immediate results. They may accept unhealthy relationships because they fear loneliness, choose unsuitable work because they fear uncertainty, or abandon their principles because they fear missing an opportunity. These decisions may provide temporary relief, but they rarely create lasting satisfaction. Human psychology performs at its best when the mind is calm rather than overwhelmed. A composed person notices details that an anxious person overlooks. They ask better questions, evaluate consequences more carefully, and recognize opportunities that genuinely match their abilities and long-term goals. Purpose creates this clarity because it shifts attention away from desperation and toward preparation. Instead of asking, how can I get this as quickly as possible? You begin asking, is this truly right for me? And am I prepared to make the most of it? This simple change transforms the quality of your decisions. It also strengthens your confidence because your actions are no longer driven by panic, but by conviction. In relationships, purposeful action builds trust because people sense honesty instead of emotional dependence. In your career, it leads to consistent progress because you focus on developing valuable skills instead of chasing every new possibility that appears. Personally, it creates emotional stability because your happiness is not tied to immediate success, but to continuous growth and meaningful effort. Over time, you realize that the greatest opportunities rarely need to be forced. They appear when preparation meets the right moment, and they reward those who have invested in their character, knowledge, and discipline long before the opportunity arrived. By choosing purpose over pressure, you develop the patience to wait when waiting is wise, the courage to act when action is necessary, and the wisdom to recognize that lasting success is built through thoughtful decisions rather than hurried reactions, allowing your life to unfold with greater confidence, clarity, and direction.